Great. Okay, what I would ask right now for everyone to do is if to please mute your microphones. And we're going to get started. First, I just want to start by saying that there is language interpretation tonight. To get interpretation in the languages of Arabic, Vietnamese, and Spanish, go to your Zoom icon and you'll see this globe. You will click on that and select your language. I'm going to let our interpreters say that. Elizabeth, would you mind saying that in Spanish? Oh, they may already be in the channels. So interpreters, go ahead with your microphones open. Would you mind with sharing the instructions of how to select the language here on your Zoom? And I'll give it in English here. All of us will need to do this. And so you will click on this globe and select the language you would like tonight to be in. Our options are English, Vietnamese, Arabic, and Spanish. Yeah, I think I'm ready to move forward here. Interpreters, if you wouldn't mind just sending me a message or a thumbs up that we're okay. Yes, we have captions available too. Thank you. One of my co-hosts, are you able to get that setting for us? Or I can.
Okay, I'll work on that.
I got it.
I'll make sure people can get in.
Mr. Piper, you can turn them on.
I did. We should see our captions now. Is that coming through for folks? And Ms. Laws, I'm not seeing it, so if you wouldn't mind trying to work on that, that would be appreciated.
Yep, okay.
Mr. Piper, you might one more time give the directions on, because we've had quite a few people come in.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Ms. Gray. So welcome. Tonight's meeting is going to be interpreted, available in the languages of English, Spanish, Vietnamese, and Arabic. To get to the language you would like, and on your Zoom feature, you'll see this globe. You will click there and select the language. All will need to do this, including English speakers. So please make sure that we all do this right now. So we're set up and ready to go. Now I'm going to give us about 30 more seconds to do that, and then we'll get started. Okay, so welcome. My name is Mike Piper. I have the honor of serving as principal here at Lynnwood High School. It's a wonderful school. We're so excited for the start of this school year. And we're excited to get together tonight to go over some information, some common questions, and other questions that you may have as we prepare for the start of the school year. Tonight's meeting is recorded. So what we will do is make sure to send that out. You all will be receiving a recording of this as well as the slides that you're seeing tonight. And that will also be available for folks who weren't able to attend. We're going to be covering school information, what a typical day in the life will look like for our students, questions around COVID-19 health and safety. And our plan tonight is to spend the first half of it going through some information. hoping to do that quickly enough to leave a good amount of time for you to ask questions. You can ask questions by typing those in the chat or also unmuting and just saying them out loud. So first, I'd like us to go through this, the slides that we're going to see and see if that answers our question. And then if not, we're going to hopefully have a good amount of time at the end to answer questions that you have remaining. It's very important for us at Lynnwood High School, anytime that we gather, to do our land acknowledgement. And I would like to do that for us now. We acknowledge the original inhabitants of this place, the Snohomish people, and their successors, the Tulalip tribes, who since time immemorial have taken care of, hunted, fished, and gathered on these lands. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and we honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. By acknowledging these homelands, we commit to working with tribal nations to further the educational aims they have identified in our classrooms and schools. So again, welcome. My name is Mike Piper. I'm principal here at Lynnwood High School. Tonight's just one of many opportunities for us to connect, to ask questions, to get to know each other, to collaborate. And please feel free to reach out anytime. You can see my contact information here, my email and my phone number. And if I can't answer your question or help, I'm going to do my best to get us to the person who can. With me tonight are two assistant principals here at Lynnwood High School, both wonderful. I'm so lucky to be able to work with them, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
I'm Sarah Lowe's, assistant principal. I'm very glad to see you all here tonight. And I'm excited to see students back in the building and families as well. I work closely with our English language learners, our multilingual students, and also with our social studies department. And this year I'm also working closely implementing our new AVID program for 9th graders, a college preparatory program. CJ?
Hi, my name is CJ Gray. I'm the other assistant principal, and like Miss Lowe's, I'm super excited to have kids back in the building and excited for school to start. I work with our life skills department. I also work with PE and science and our counseling department. My door is always open and my phone is always available for you to call if you have any questions. We're happy to answer those. Thank you. Welcome.
Okay, so let's just start with this first slide, giving some information about the first day of school, which is coming right up. Our first day of school is next week, Wednesday, September 8th. Miss Lowe's or Miss Gray, if you wouldn't mind, if you could put these slides in, do you have the link in the chat? That will be helpful, because what you can see here by clicking on these links is our bell schedule and our school calendar. The bell schedule at Lynnwood High School, our first class starts at 7:20 and our last class ends at 1:50 for most students. The building is open before and after those times, but typically a lot of students start to arrive around 7 o'clock, especially our bus riders and those who want to get breakfast before school begins. It's important, I would say, to pay attention to that school calendar, because there's going to be days throughout the year. For example, coming up on September 24 is a half day. So we do have some different days that catch us every once in a while that are different from our normal bell schedule. So having that bell schedule and that school calendar available to reference will be very helpful. And before we know it, our last day of school is going to be June 24. Miss Lowe's and Miss Gray, do you have these slides to share that into the chat?
Mr. Piper, we do not have it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop the presentation real quick so I can do that for us. Because that's important, I know that you're gonna wanna see. I apologize, give me 1 second here. Okay. Apologize for the delay. Sometimes technology and me don't always play nice. But it looks like we also got our transcription working. Okay, a question for, can we see my slides again?
Yes, we can.
Perfect, awesome. Okay, so the slides that we're looking at, we're going to put a link for these into the chat. You can click that link and you'll be able to open up a lot of the resources that we're going to be showing tonight. This will also be emailed out as well and available on our school website.
There's a question for what time zero period starts.
That is a great question. Zero period for those that are in music, it starts, I got to back up 50 minutes from 7:20. What is that?
Six thirty.
6:30.
Yeah, 6:30 a.m. would be 0
a.m.
period.
The zero period start.
Jeez, that's early.
Okay, we're going to move to our next slide here. A common question a lot of people have right now is, what is my schedule and who are my teachers? And even as of today, our counselors have been busy working to try to make sure that our classes are nice and balanced, that we have an even amount of students in classes. Because of that work that we've been doing, we don't display the schedules yet. But tomorrow's the big day. Tomorrow you're going to receive notification. Those that are going to come to freshman orientation are going to receive it there as well. But you're going to be able to get into Skyward tomorrow to see your schedule. If you're not sure how to get into Skyward, there's a link here too that gives families support on how to get into Skyward Family Access. Caitlin, it sounds like you might have a quick question. Go ahead and ask it.
I was gonna say, I already have my schedule. I checked Skyward today and my schedule showed up.
That might be happening. And Caitlin, I appreciate you being with us. If you could do me a favor for right now and go ahead and mute. And then at the end, if we haven't hit your question, I want to make sure that we pay attention to that, okay? Great to have you here. But yes, you're going to be able to see your schedule soon on Skyward. And that schedule will show you your courses. And it's also going to show you who your teachers are in the room for those courses. Let's talk a little bit about what life looks like here at Lynnwood High. A question a lot of people have is lunchtime. And what is spacing and tables and what does lunch look like here at Lynnwood? Well, I think we may have the biggest lunchroom in the state. You're looking at two different ends of the school right now in these pictures. And this space is known as the Agora. During lunchtime, we're going to have tables from the front of the Agora all the way to the back. And we're really going to try to distance best we can, which also means we're going to allow students to eat outside. What you're looking at here is a typical setup for a classroom. All classrooms are going to have sanitation wipes, face masks in case yours breaks or you want to change one out. And our desks are going to look a little different than they may have in the past for you because our teachers have been instructed to minimize grouping. So a typical classroom, we're going to be in rows like this. And that's going to help us space out to the best of our ability. Lots of fun classes and electives here at Lynnwood High School. This is our chef room. So if you see chef in your schedule, you'll be going into this classroom. Our library. Now, students and staff are obviously allowed to be in the building. It's unfortunate right now that there's limits on visitors. But as you can see, this is a beautiful campus that we take great pride in. And our library is a wonderful space for learning. Do you see PE on your schedule? Or for our athletes? Or for those that maybe later when we're allowed to attend a game? This is our main gym. Now in this wing, we also have our weight room, our aerobics room, and another smaller gym that we call our Aux gym. Our PE classes start in this space, but oftentimes after attendance, we go outside. There was a question about music earlier, when zero period may start, but we have music classes throughout the day. And we're going to utilize this space to allow us to spread out more for music. But this is our theater that we also use for our drama and acting and performance courses. And a shot of our outside fields that we use for our PE classes. But we also want to, as much as we're able to, allow these spaces to be used for lunch and other times during the day. We have a great campus and a beautiful space for us to learn and be together as a community. Let's talk a little bit about COVID. I know there are many questions and concerns about what is happening with COVID and what are the guidelines. One of those questions that we have is, well, what is the plan if I need to stay home because I don't feel well, or I'm asked to stay home because I was a close contact or I have COVID? We had our first day with teachers today to really do some professional development. And we talked about this and the importance of making sure that we are supporting students if they're not able to come to school. First, it's an excused absence, so you're not going to be penalized for missing school if you're ill. But what we want to do is make sure that you're not falling behind and that you can keep up with the learning while you are out. And what that's going to mean for most classes is it's really important that you are hooked into Canvas, because that's the system our teachers use, one of the most popular systems that they're going to use to communicate assignments and activities for class. If you are a close contact and maybe isolated situations where a student or two have to stay home, if we come across a situation where an entire classroom has to stay home, then what we will do is the teacher will convert to Zoom and we'll teach the class remotely over Zoom like we were doing last year at times. I see some students on this call. So students, it's really important to bring your Chromebook to school fully charged every day, but also make sure that you're taking it home. You may have to stay home, but also there's going to be assignments and learning and things you can do at home to help support your studies. Health and safety, that's our #1 priority. here at Lynnwood High School. And so we're going to be talking about this a lot and teaching these things to our students and modeling them as staff. But one of the first things is it's going to be really important that everyone understands that masks are required inside and outside while we're on campus. So students, make sure that you're coming with a mask every day. And even better, have a backup mask if you need. And if you don't have a mask, we're going to have plenty here that we can give to you. But we need to be wearing it throughout the school day, except at the times when we're eating or drinking. We're going to spend time in our classes teaching what physical distancing can look like, such as we can do smiles instead of hugs, trying to have 3 feet space in the classroom, aiming for 6 feet space in the lunchroom. We're going to have conversations and support our students to make sure that this is happening, because we know that this can help mitigate the spread of COVID. An important step that we really are relying on families to help us with is before we come to school, making sure that we are not coming to school if we're feeling ill. Last year, we had an attestation process that helped to ask those questions before we came into the building. We're not going to have that this year, so it's even more important that we are not coming to school if we're having COVID-like symptoms. You may have seen some of this information already come out on our website or to your email, but we have a full district health and safety handbook. And again, you can go to our slides and click on this link here to pull it up, but it helps go into detail about the safety guidelines and precautions that we are following as a school and as a district. One thing's for sure, these guidelines are going to change. So we will update our community as they change, but this is not a static situation. And for example, right now, wearing masks outside is pretty new, because a few weeks ago, you didn't have to wear masks outside on campus. And now they've made that change. So we will continue to update as we move along through this situation and support each other and teach our students what's expected of them. Like I mentioned earlier, we're not going to have the daily health checks outside the building like we did in the spring. So again, it's really important that we have that conversation at home. Students, that you take that responsibility if you're not feeling well. Something I want to clarify that's come up a few times is, even if you're vaccinated, if you're having symptoms, it's the same thing. You need to stay home. And we've been talking about this as a staff as well. Staff are expected to follow the exact same we're asking of our students. These next couple slides show what are COVID-like symptoms, such as a fever, 100.4 Fahrenheit or higher, a cough that's not associated with a known condition, shortness of breath, chills, unusual fatigue, muscle and body aches, a new headache, sore throat, loss of taste or smell, congestion, runny nose, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. These are all signs and symptoms that if we're having them, we need to stay home from school. So that's a really important step to make sure that if we're not feeling well, not to come to school. Lots of other steps we're taking as well. We've been working with our custodial team about the routines that we are going to use, how to prioritize those high touch point areas in our building, making sure that every classroom is getting a good daily sanitation, and having other steps and places set up for us. Since COVID began, we've been working and we've done a great job as a district in updating and making sure we have the best HVAC systems in place for ventilation. And Lynnwood High School naturally is a good building for this. The design is a design that allows for a lot of ventilation in our building. And then we've, in addition to the HVAC upgrades we've been able to make. Washing our hands, it sounds simple, but here's another really important step to be taking. And there's a video here that might seem more elementary school geared, but it's an important reminder about making sure we wash our hands for 20 seconds in warm and soapy water. These are all good reminders that we're going to teach our students when school begins, and also make sure that we're modeling it as staff. Because we know that good hand hygiene is another step that we can take for safety. And again, one of the most important steps that we can take for safety is the expectation that everyone is wearing a mask, both inside and outside. And again, if you want to look at these videos, families, it would be a great idea to show them to your students if you'd like, but they just go into some kind of fun instruction around how to do this properly. But we will be teaching this at school as well. Like I've mentioned earlier, we have limited access to our school right now as another step for safety. So we love to be this open community. We love to have family and visitors and volunteers in our building. That's a part of who we are. So we don't like having to do this. It's sad for us, but we know it's a necessary step for safety. Right now, our building is only open to students and district staff. With the exception of families can come in to our offices for school-related business. So if you need to come into our main office to take care of an attendance issue or to check in on a counseling, those types of matters, families can come in. But aside from that, right now, there are no visitors allowed in our building. Another important step for safety that we're going to encourage and talk about is the COVID-19 vaccine. The governor's mandate is that all staff in this building and in the Edmonds School District are vaccinated. So we're going through that process right now as a system to have accounting for that. But also to make sure that we educate our community and they know students don't have to, but it is available right now for anyone 12 years or older, which is almost all of our students here. And there will be information and communication about how you can schedule and places you can go that are available to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. We started this in the spring, and we're going to continue to have the ability here to do COVID-19 testing. And that's available for all students and staff. We're not going to test students without family consent, but it is an option and a tool that we have to help. And this is true for all Edmonds School District schools. So if you have other students in the buildings, all of our sites right now are able to do COVID-19 testing. There's been questions about, are we going to be able to have choir? Are we going to be able to have music? And the answer is yes, we're going to be able to do this. And we're putting a lot of thought into how we can do this safely, how we can space out. We're going to have special masks for our music students, but performing arts are happening here at Lynnwood High School, and we know how important those are for our students. Again, there's going to be updates along the way that may change some of these guidelines, but we're excited to have performing arts. And again, there's a link here that you could access if you want to see more of the details. Sports are underway. In fact, I've been excited to go to our first football game this Friday. And so right now we're allowed to do sports. There are restrictions and things that we're going to do to help mitigate COVID-19 spread. But here's a link if you wanted to check out to see key dates. options, forms, eligibility online, a great place to go for athletic info. But another thing that might be helpful for us, I'm just thinking about this now, but Ms. Lowe's or Ms. Gray, if you wouldn't mind looking up Mr. Keane's information and putting that into the chat. We have a building athletic director because we're planning to have winter sports. And so you may have questions not just about the fall. He's a great person to reach out to for all things related to athletics. I'm trying to make sure I'm providing space for our interpreters and not going too fast.
Okay.
Another common question. Oh, sorry, Ms. Lowe's, go ahead.
I've just put Mr. Keane's contact info in the chat.
Thank you so much. Another common question right now is school bus. First, this slide addresses the expectation for the school bus is just like the classroom. Everyone needs to be wearing a mask on the bus, staff and students, and social distancing the best we can on the bus. We all at this point should have received information through Skyward on our bus stop, so the location and the times. And this next slide is going to talk about that a little bit more, I believe. So if you're unsure, here's a great link that you could click on. This is an app that you can download that gives you transportation information. The other place you can go to is Skyward. In Skyward, you should be able to see your bus stop and your pickup and drop off time. And if either of these aren't working, the app doesn't work, or it's unclear, or you're not sure how to see it in Skyward, reach out to us. We have that information as well. We want to make sure that that stress is not there. You know where your bus is going to be. I know that can be a very stressful thing the first day of school, wondering when my bus is going to arrive. So reach out to us or use these links. If you're a bus rider, we want to make sure that you know the information you need. Speaking of which, if you have a freshman student a ninth grader who's planning to come to our orientation tomorrow, that's when the bus is going to run. Our buses are going to run tomorrow to those stops at those times. So if you want to practice riding the bus, ninth graders tomorrow, hey, that's a great day to do that. We're excited about being able to offer free breakfast and lunch for all of our students all year. So that was something we were able to do last year. And it was really exciting to hear that we're going to be able to do this year as well. So if that might help with the stress of having to pack, prepare, or pay for meals. If you ever forget, no worries. There's always going to be a meal, breakfast and lunch available for you. And we're excited too. Their food service shared with us just recently that we might be having a food truck come on certain days. If you're in need of financial support, we want to support you, and there's some resources here I'm going to talk about. The first one is just free and reduced meals. Well, you may be thinking, well, if meals are free this year, why would I need to fill out that application? There's so many other things that you can get access to if you qualify under the free and reduced meal application, that we want to make sure that students and families know about that opportunity. Reduced course fees, sports fees, help with internet, other things too that, the list goes on. There's a lot of opportunities for resources that the free and reduced meal application can provide for us. So I wanted to talk about that here, but also know that we're going to talk about it as a school. There's a way to do it online, but we're also going to be providing paperwork too for our students and for families. Right here is the online link for accessing financial support, and a phone number if you'd like a printed copy. Mentioned Skyward earlier. Skyward is a really important system that we use for all information in our district. So I would highly encourage families to make sure you know how to get into Skyward, because in Skyward, you're going to be able to do things like check your students' grades, make sure that we have the correct contact information for you. I typically send out a message once a week and want to make sure that you're getting that. Bus route information like we just talked about, attendance, and a lot of other things as well. So Skyward is really important to know how to get into. And earlier again was a link you can click on that helps to explain how to get into Skyward if it's something you're unsure how to do. Last is just a plug here. The Edmonds School District is hiring, and we love our team and we want great people, especially right now we're in need of school bus drivers and food service workers. So if you're interested in Edmonds, check out this link here and you can see the current jobs that we have posted. Okay, so what I'm going to do now at this point is I'm going to stop the screen share so that we can see more of each other. And we're going to go through and see if there are questions in the chat or if there's questions that you want to ask. It was important for us to stick within this hour time frame, I believe, for our interpreters, but I know that we got a little bit of a late start, so we can go a little bit over, but we got about a half an hour here just to answer questions that you may have. So I'm going to pause.
I have a question.
Okay, go for it, Caitlin.
If you are vaccinated, do you need proof of vaccination?
That's a great question. So right now, our staff need to provide proof of vaccination. Now, things may change in terms of what we do for close contact and contact tracing. But right now, if someone was a close contact, which means that you were in the school building and we discovered that you were close to someone who had COVID, there's going to be an option to, if you prove vaccination, that would allow you to come back to school earlier. That's the current how things are going, but that, of course, that could change.
All right.
Miss Lowe's or Miss Gray, you seeing, I haven't been monitoring the chat at all. Are there some questions that we're seeing that are coming in?
Yes, absolutely. One question is, again, about vaccines. So is the COVID vaccine required for students to attend high school?
No, the COVID vaccine is not required for students to attend high school.
Okay. Are any vaccines required for students?
Yes, there are some standard of vaccines that have been required for years. And I don't want to mess that up, which ones they are, but our school nursing staff works really hard to communicate with families if we need a particular vaccine on record. So if there's a vaccine that we're unclear of that you need to have, we will be communicating with you and making sure that we're getting that on our record.
Thank you. Another question is about tutorial. What is tutorial and is it required?
It's not a required time. A lot of people enjoy that time because it's a nice way to transition into the school day. But during tutorial, staff were in the classroom. So if you want to stop by and see a teacher before school, that's a time you can do that. For most students, it's a time to get breakfast, to see each other in the Agora, and then to transition to our class at 7:20.
Thank you. Another question is about the 9th grade orientation tomorrow, Link Crew. Do the freshmen bring their Chromebooks tomorrow to school?
That's a great question. If you forget your Chromebook, it's okay, but we really want students to bring their Chromebook because that's going to help with the process that we're going through, because we're going to exchange your Chromebook from last year for a new one. So if you bring your old Chromebook tomorrow, you're going to get your new one.
Okay, a couple more questions. How will kids with failing grades last year make up their credits?
There's a variety of different ways that we can do that. What I would suggest is to meet with your counselor early on this semester to discuss what option might work best for you. One way, for example, is through some of our credit recovery programs and classes that we can take. Another way is what's called backfilling, passing a class that we can use to credit a class that you received an NC for. So there's a variety of different options, and it's going to be unique for each student about what would work best for you. So I would make sure to meet with your counselor and discuss the plan that would work best for you.
Okay, we'll keep going. Snow days. Will snow days be a cancellation, or will there be remote classes on those days?
I can't answer that for sure with certainty, but I know that there definitely is discussion about how well we could transfer to Zoom. We know how to do that now as a system, but I haven't heard officially what our plan is yet for that.
Okay, this one is about masks. Last year, I observed at least one teacher wearing a mask improperly. Will mask compliance be better? And will mask types be more closely monitored? For example, no bandanas or one-layer masks?
I sure hope so. And what we are, for example, today we spent time with staff talking about this, about how we want to model it and then how we want to teach it for our students. But we're all going to need to work together as a community on this, which means if we see someone in a situation where we're not in mask compliance, if there is a staff member, please let one of Miss Lowe's, Miss Gray, or myself know. We supervise them, and we will have a conversation and make sure that that's not happening moving forward. If you see another student, that's a great opportunity. If you have a positive relationship with them and feel comfortable, to remind them, or to reach out to a staff member and let them know. Because there's going to be some times where we're going to need to remind each other. But yes, it's going to be closely monitored. This is a very important thing for safety for our school, and we're going to take it really seriously.
How are you planning on doing social distancing?
The language that we're guided to use is to the best of our ability. So there's times where we're not going to be able to pull off, for example, I'll use lunch as an example. We really want to try to do 6 feet at lunch, but we don't have the space and the ability. We're going to get pretty close, but so what we did with our bell schedules, we added an extra lunch, so there's less people in the lunchroom. So every place in our school, for example, I met with our art teacher today to talk about, okay, when students go to the pottery wheel, where can we position those to have good social distance? So we're working on all sorts of different routines in our building right now to make sure that we're doing the very best we can for social distancing.
Well, Mr. Piper, there's a question about the lunch times. Can you let people know what time the lunches are?
Yeah, no problem. And then also I would recommend just pulling up that bell schedule too, just so you have it for yourself. But there's 3 different lunches. We start the day early here at Lynnwood High, so our first lunch starts probably earlier than we're used to right now. But first lunch starts at 10:30. So that's when our first lunch is going to happen. And then each lunch is a half an hour, and there's 3 lunches. What lunch you have, you're going to find out on the first day of school, because your teacher is going to tell you. And I'm also going to make some announcements about that prior to lunch happening. But they're by teacher.
Thank you. This question is about Chromebooks for sophomores. Will the 10th graders be getting new Chromebooks as well on Friday during their orientation?
I don't know if the swap is going to happen for everyone on Friday. The orientation is a little bit shorter for our 10th graders. I'm about 90% sure that we're going to be able to do the swap then. But we're also going to have time the first days of school for the swap as well, if we're not able to fit it in to the orientation program.
Okay, next question. Will students need a backpack?
No, students, you don't need, or is the backpack required? No. But is it helpful to have one? You know, you're going to have a Chromebook for sure to be carrying around. You may have a water bottle, you may have some other items. So there are no lockers here at Lynnwood High School. So if you don't have a backpack, that's something to think about. How am I going to carry the items that I want to bring to school? But you're allowed to have a backpack. Many students do have one. There's no rule against it, but you also, it's your choice.
Okay. How late can students stay in the school building after dismissal?
So after dismissal, we're going to have a period in time that's open for activities, clubs, and also students that may be participating in athletics. I don't want to give an official time yet because we are looking at athletics, what our student needs might be there, and also a transportation we're arranging for after school. But know that the building right at 150, we don't close up. And the reason why I'm not giving a clear answer on this is in the past, we've had the building open for a long time for students. And I want to be able to do that as much as we can, while also staying safe and following the DOH guidelines. So there's some details that we still need to work out about when we're going to have to clear the building after school.
Thank you. What is the process for updating or changing the class schedule if we think there is a mistake?
What I would recommend, if you're able to do it, is look for the email I sent last week. In that there's a link from our counselors. And if you click on that link, it will guide you through how to make a course change request. If you don't see that email or it's not working for you, the next thing I would suggest is emailing your counselor. Or and our counselors are broken down by alpha, and you can see that on our school website. And I don't know, maybe Ms. Gray, would you be able to put their alpha breakdown and contact info in the chat? But I want to caution, it's going to be really hard to change classes. We're going to change them if there was a mistake made, there's a graduation need, or there's a safety or issue that we really need to address for maybe mental health purposes. But for the most part, we're not going to be changing schedules because we want to have a different lunch, or we really want to be with this particular teacher or a friend in the class. We need to keep our classes balanced, and it's going to be really important that we do that, especially with COVID.
Thank you. When will students get their Chromebooks if they are not able to attend the orientations this week, 9th and 10th graders?
So all year we have a position. His name is Mr. Jim MacArthur, and he is our Chromebook Tech, and he's based out of our library. And he is going to be supporting students throughout the year with Chromebook needs. And one of the first things he's going to be busy with is making sure that everyone has one. So there's going to be opportunities if your Chromebook isn't working, you haven't exchanged your Chromebook yet, or you need one, where you're going to be able to do that during the school day.
Okay, next question is about COVID safety. Why are COVID tests not being required? Why do we have to have parental consent for those? And why are we no longer requiring attestations?
The simplest answer I can give to that is that we follow what the Department of Health in Snohomish County is telling us to do. And that changes. And sometimes it makes really clear sense to me, that change, and other times I have questions myself. But these are not decisions that are made at the school level. These are decisions that are made at the county level. So some of these changes that we're seeing right now are because of that.
Okay. Do we have rates of vaccination for our students?
No, that's not information that our building administration is privy to. So the short answer is no.
Okay. Last part of this question. How precisely are we expecting to avoid or mitigate outbreaks when we're using half the physical distancing and the Delta variant has twice the communicability?
So while spacing has changed, the process for contact tracing and quarantining has not. So if there is a COVID situation here at Lynnwood High School, we work closely with the Department of Health around what were the details, who needs to be sent home, for how long, and other steps that we are to take as a building. Which I think then is I think it's realistic to anticipate that there are going to be times where there are students sent home from school to quarantine and to stop the spread. And that's important for safety, but also from an instructional standpoint, it's important to be prepared for that reality.
Thank you. This question is about Chromebooks at school. Will there be charging stations or cords available if the Chromebook needs charging at orientation events or during the school day?
All of our teachers have different systems in place, and we have to plug in and charge Chromebooks. So yes, there are lots of places throughout the building to charge your Chromebook. But I think it's really important to come with a charged Chromebook so you can avoid that. What we don't want is, what if everybody in the class needed to charge their Chromebook? The station would get overwhelmed. So really, to the best of our ability, coming with a fully charged Chromebook is the best plan. If something happens and our Chromebook isn't working or it needs to be charged, our staff is going to support our students.
Thanks. Is there a list of clubs?
There is, but it's ever changing. So if you see a club list and you're like, man, I really wish there was this club. All we need for a club is for a student to be interested in it and for a person to be the advisor. So what I would suggest is reaching out to Sarah Hall. And she can provide the clubs that we currently have, and she can help you if you want to start a club.
Great.
And maybe sorry, real quick. That might be one Miss Gray could help with Sarah Hall's information in the chat.
Yep.
And also our school website has this information too. But if you lose it, or you can't find it, just send me an email and I'll connect us.
Can you tell us a little bit about the LHS Booster Club and where to go for more information about the Booster Club?
Well, we might have a booster member here tonight. Do we have any Booster Club members here tonight that could take this question? So we have a core group of really committed families, but we're looking to grow the Booster Club. So what I would do, oh, Elizabeth, I see your hand up. Do you want me to slow down? Give me a thumbs up when you're ready. I'm sorry. They're going to send out some communications about how you can join the Booster Club and when they meet. So be looking for those. We are going to have an open house. Unfortunately, it's probably going to be remote like this. And our Booster Club also comes to our open house to talk about how to join. What the Booster Club is, if there's that question, it's a parent and family organization that helps to support our school. And they do a lot of raising of, a lot of times, finances to help support our students. Everything from helping with fees to scholarships. And they do other things too, like put on a staff lunch.
Thanks, Mr. Piper. Another question about Chromebooks. Can a student use their laptop instead of a Chromebook?
No, the expectation is that we are using our Chromebook, and there's reasons why. If we're concerned about that, reach out to me, but we need to be using our Chromebook, and that's the expectation for all students.
Okay, there's a question about ASB cards. What do you do if you need a replacement ASB card? And are fees for ASB cards due every year?
They are, fees are due every year. You can see another question. You can purchase them at any time. If you have lost an ASB card, we have record of who's purchased ASB cards. We have an ASB secretary that we can connect you to help you with that. And Miss Hall, the name that you saw earlier about activities, is also part, coordinating for ASB. So if you reach out to Miss Hall, she can help you.
Can you use an old ASB card from?
You could use an old ASB card for an ID, but it wouldn't work for the benefits of an ASB card for the current year. Does that answer your question, Caitlin?
I didn't hear because my audio cut out.
So an ASB card, for those that aren't aware, does help. It's something that you would need if you wanted to be in a club or a sports team, but it's also something that helps with reduced costs. Your yearbook is not as expensive if you have an ASB card, as an example. If you want the benefits of an ASB card, it's something that we purchase every year. They're good for 1 year.
Mr. Piper, how do we purchase an ASB card? And when?
You can purchase one anytime by going either to our main office. You can purchase it online, or you can go to our ASB office. So those are 3 locations that you could go to purchase your card.
Thank you.
We're going to go for about 5 more minutes, and I'm hoping that we can answer all of your questions, but I know that may not be possible. So please feel free to email me, reach out, give me a phone call. Want to make sure that we get all questions answered so we feel comfortable and ready for the school year.
Mr. Piper, could you tell us again, so if I'm a 9th grader or a 10th grader and I can't come to the orientation this week, how do I get my Chromebook?
We're going to work with our Chromebook Tech, Mr. MacArthur, and he's going to be having students come into the library. He has an office in the back where we have all of our Chromebooks stored, and make sure that you get one. There's also going to be opportunities before school and during lunch where you could go up to exchange your Chromebook, but there's going to be times too where a teacher could write you a pass, or he may come to some classrooms. It usually takes a few days to make sure that everybody has a Chromebook in place, and teachers know that. So don't panic if you don't have your Chromebook. There'll be a plan to support you. We're going to get you one as quickly as we can.
Thank you. And will the information from today's meeting be emailed out to families?
Absolutely. We'll send out an email with the slides. This is also being recorded, so if you wanted to access a recording of this, you can do that as well. We'll make sure to get that information out to everyone.
Okay, I think that's the end of the questions that we have had in the chat. And so if people want to unmic and ask questions or have more questions in the chat to put in the chat, now is the time. So we have a chat question. Is there a map of the school for students?
That's a great question. I believe we have one on our school website, but I need to double check that. We do have a map that we've created, but I'm not sure if it's how quickly students could get to that. There is going to be a lot of support on the first day of school, the first days on how to get around. So administration, office staff, teachers, we're going to be out all over the school and all the different wings, just helping students if they're getting lost or they need help and where to go. It takes a little bit of time sometimes. If what happens is you might go to the northwest instead of the south part of the school. And so teachers know that. They also know that, we're not super strict on you need to be in class right away the first day, because we know that it's going to take some time to figure out where you have to go. So we're going to have a bunch of people out there to support you if you're feeling lost.
Another question, just what time does zero period start if I'm a music student and I have a zero period jazz band class?
Yeah, we have that in the chat at 6:30. Ms. Stevenson and Mr. Onishi typically communicate out prior to the start of school for their students. And it would be good to double check on this, because what has historically zero period doesn't start the first week. They start at the second week of school. And today, like I said, the teacher's first day back, so I haven't been able to connect with them on this. But if you missed the first day of zero period, that's okay. Usually what happens is it starts the second week of the school year. Okay, well, we're really looking forward to a great year. Our staff couldn't be more excited to have students back in the building. And we're also going to make sure that we're really preparing and thinking about how to make this a safe, positive experience for your students and our students. We love this community, we love this school, and really looking forward to this year together. So thank you for coming tonight. I appreciate you all. And we always like to say, go Royals.
Go Royals.
Have a great night. Elizabeth, I just saw your message. After all of mine making sure everyone else is set up, I forgot to click on it for myself.
Thank you.
Have a great night, everyone. Okay, I'm going to end it here in just a sec. With the recording, Sarah, CJ, does it come to me in the email after this?
I think you're going to get a notification either through email or from your Google Drive
Okay,
that it's saved. So just look for that once you stop.
I don't want to lose that. Thank you for your support tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, CJ.
Bye.
And thanks, Spencer.
Thanks, Samar.
Yes, thank you.